Hey, welcome to Agri Talk, and here with Dwayne Rigsby, and we're going to talk about, I guess, convention or some sort of a thing where farmers go to gather and exchange information so they can be better farmers and do their thing better.
That's right, Mike. Today, I guess it started yesterday actually. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow is what in Ohio is known as the Farm Science Review. Mainly, it's operated by Ohio State University to a degree, but there's so much, excuse me, so many other people in the background. It's not just a university by any means. And what it is just a huge farm show. And I mean hundreds of acres of farm show. It has anywhere from, one area is 60, 70 acres just to put in tents. There's over 650 probably people that exhibit. And these tents, when I say they're not the little 10 by 10 tents, these are, you know,
Festival type things.
Festival tents. These things are huge, where they can park a couple of vehicles underneath, and there'll be everything from even cars and a lot of truck vendors. You know,
Would you say it's a trade show?
Well, yeah, it's sort of that. It's sort of everything that you can think of ag is there.
Does every state have one of these things?
No, not every state has one.
Do other states participate in this?
Yes, there's other states that come. Indiana, Kentucky, all these people, they come up here and go to this show.
Okay. And
a lot of vendors will bring their equipment here. And if you're in the area of London, Ohio, be prepared for traffic, because that's just what happens in the morning especially, and then the evening. Everybody's trying to get there. Slow going
with all the guys coming on the tractors, right?
Well, yeah, there is a few there because there's a few vendors close by. Instead of trucking them in, they just drive them in. But most of the time, they're all trucked in.
Yeah.
And that last day, if you're there very late, you'll get behind several vehicles that has tractors and combines and discs and chisel plows and planters and all kinds of stuff. It's there, but that's where everybody's at. So we don't really have any guests today. So So I thought we'd talk about.
Does it cost to get in, and do you have to have any credentials to get in there?
Well, it does cost, or most of the time you can round up a ticket. From maybe your ag agent or your local
extension
office. Yeah, a lot of those will have tickets. And this, you know, for next year, thinking about if you were to go, think about doing that, and they might be able to you know, comp you a ticket, or it might be like $5 or $10, or it's usually around $5.
We're not talking $50 to $100.
No. It's small, but be prepared. It's an all-day thing. I mean, there's. If you just want to go and walk, it is row after row after row after row of vendors, and that's just tents. If you want to see demonstrations of tractors in the field, combines in the field, you want to see about yields of corn and beans and stuff like that, there's a whole other area in the back that talks about this stuff and shows you. They'll go. The tractors will go through the field. The combines will go through the field. They'll tell you,
have combine races and see who can who can get done with the most amount.
Sometimes it would certainly look like it. And I know today actually they're doing drone demonstrations. So now drones, or UAVs, is that right? Are becoming into the ag market, if you would. And what they're doing is they're flying over top of your fields, looking for maybe a small area that has
that's yellowed or shorter or something.
Yeah, anything. Whether maybe, you know, it's wet and soupy when you planted and it didn't take good, or maybe there's a weed coming up too much there, and so they can take pictures of this versus you trying to go out and scout through the field.
And that way
that drone can fly over much quicker than you can walk through that cornfield.
Right, and that way you could use less chemicals or whatever to treat that one small spot that needs it, instead of like taking a plane and laying it down over the whole field.
Yep, exactly. Now, what kind of demos they're doing today, I don't know, but I know that's becoming a very popular thing in the ag market today, is flying over your crops. So. But so the Farm Science Review has been around. I think this is their 55th year. This has been going for a long time.
Oh, wow.
This has been going for a long time. In London, started out a little bit smaller. At the farm, it's called Molly Cairn Ag Center. And it's a normal farm. There's that's where all the field crops and stuff is raised, and then they use these 3 days will typically be harvest time, and so they plan it in a timely fashion to where this is harvest for them.
So this is a private farm that they're on?
Not private. It's owned by the university.
Okay.
I believe. I think.
But
don't hold me to
it's
that
not
one.
private anyway.
It is not
it's
private.
Public land-ish.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yep. And so, like I said, it'll have all kinds of field crops and all that stuff. But the other thing to this is they have what's called the Gwin. And off to the other side of the road, 70, Interstate 70, I think is where it is a like a marsh, wooded area, pond, and they talk about all kinds of pond management, tree management, land management, if you would. So if you have a wooded area or something, and then they do all kinds of demonstrations in there, even as far as maybe you're trying to manage for grouse or anything like that. There'll be forest rangers and forest management people there and wildlife people there.
Do they do any cutting edge stuff? Like is it aquaculture, where you have the fish and the plants that interact and?
Well, they may talk about that there, but they may not have actual demonstrations there. What is typically at these, now I can't say because they're changing all the time, but I did not participate this year. I didn't go this year, but they typically talk about ponds. So think of everything that's outdoors versus something indoors. So most of this stuff is all related to
how
outdoor.
to stock your pond?
Yeah, how to stock, how to maybe what you put in, maybe how to keep cattails out, things like that. Lots of that stuff.
Or skeeters?
Yeah, well, that's a whole. I hate them things. So, my gosh, how do you man? I don't know. Yeah, I can't walk outside. Seems like without.
Yeah, so that's the first thing. I don't care necessarily about the heat or the cold or a lot of this. It's the mosquitoes that makes me go indoors.
You're right. That's what it did me last night. Matter of fact. So.
Get tired of this.
Yeah,
stuff.
you're whacking all the time, but yeah, and I'm sure that the Gwin in the evening, there's lots of them there. But I'm sure that there's somebody there that can even talk about that to a degree, and maybe what to put out or what to make sure is cleaned up around your area. I know there's obviously if you have water standing somewhere, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, tires is a bad thing. The water that gathers in tires are notorious for that.
Yeah. Yep. Now, there was something else at the Gwin that one of our previous guests was on with us, Dave Apsley. And he'll be there the last 2 days, which will be today and tomorrow. And he's talking about tree management and also like chainsaw safety. So they'll actually be doing demonstrations, full bore. They'll be dressed up in a headgear and chaps and everything else to where
That's important. I've had more than one friend have one kick back and hit them in the leg or something.
Yeah, and when you first hear the word chaps, it's like, no, that's kind of strange. But it's these things.
It's like Kevlar.
Yeah, it's like Kevlar, and they'll actually take a chainsaw and just stick right in one, and you'll see that it won't cut through it, or only if somebody just keeps grinding at it. But what it does is it binds up that chainsaw.
They probably does it stop the? Oh, okay. It doesn't stop the chainsaw like a table saw. Have you seen those table saws? They put a hot dog on it and it just like breaks.
Yeah. No, it doesn't do that. But what it does is when that chain hits that chap area, those fibers, it just instantly grinds them fibers and drags them right into the sprocket of the chainsaw.
Oh, so you got a job to do after this.
But
you're not going to the hospital.
You're not going to the hospital, hopefully.
That's a plus.
Yeah, and it just literally just stops. It just balls that thing up to where the chain just doesn't do nothing.
Okay. Well, it's sort of like that,
you know,
except it's not electronic.
It's not electronic, so you don't have to worry about trying to replace batteries, or maybe the battery was dead or something. Accidentally.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But then they're also going to talk about tree felling, or maybe the right direction. If you've ever tried to cut down a tree and you started cutting it and you wanted it to go this way and it went this way and things like that.
Yeah, well, if you got a tree leaning like this, you're not going to get it to go that way.
Well, now you'd be surprised at these guys. They can take some trees that are leaning the opposite direction almost and make it go the other way.
Without pulling on it?
Yeah. Some of them, obviously depending on the degree.
You probably have to cut out the weight on one side or something.
Well, it's interesting that they may look at that, or they may not be able to follow it completely opposite, but they'll be able to follow it in another direction, other than the way it's leaning.
I guess I don't know, don't cut trees down very often. I guess you could have one that twists down, maybe.
Yep, depending on how you notch it, and they.
So it may not go straight,
right?
But it may curve down.
I was talking to Dave last week, and this was the whole conversation was about how and when that tree falls. Usually in the past, the person would just kind of maybe make a notch in the front wherever they think it's going to fall, and then cut it in the back. And what happens is sometimes you may not know when that tree is going to go, and it may just go wing, and maybe hurt somebody or something.
Yeah.
But they're talking about ways now that the way you cut it, you know exactly when it's going to stand there until you're ready for it to fall. So, and those are some of the new techniques, if you would, that they've kind of come across, developed on how to cut down a tree correctly and make sure there's nobody in the way or somebody driving by for heaven's sakes and things like that.
Yeah.
But hey, that's like I said, that's in a whole other area. I think that area is probably, I'm going to roughly say about 70 acres. Of all of that, marshland, trees, shrubs.
So I don't know if you'd need walking shoes. You definitely need walking boots.
Yeah, yes.
Because it would probably get dirty, muddy, or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that you want to be able to be able to have multiple pairs of shoes probably when you go, and especially today because it did rain up there quite a bit and stuff. So. Let's take a real quick break, and we'll talk about back to the other side and more into the farming side.
Okay.
All right. Hey, we are back on Agri Talk, and Mike, we were talking about the Farm Science Review up in London, Ohio.
Here's the website if you want to find out more. What's the address?
The address to get to this is fsr.osu.edu, and the dates. It's like the same. This is what is this? The third week in September or something like that. That's when it is. So the 19, 20, 21 isn't always the exact time. It's
right.
I believe it's like the third week in September always, and you'll see every vendor, every make and model of a tractor. This is a picture of the Gwin where they're doing demonstrations and talks and trainings about stuff. You've got some these are some exhibitor pictures. These are elevators to put grain either in a truck or in the bin, depending
silo.
Depending on what you want to do. This one, I want to talk just a minute about this. This is just one exhibitor area, and you can see how many rows there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 8 or 9 rows there. And this place is huge. I mean, this is more than...
This is just a part of it.
Yeah, this is just part of it. Over there to the right in that green area, and here's what it would look like from above, or some of it. It's just massive, and these exhibitor areas are usually great big tents, or some of them are buildings, barns. They've permanently set up barns there, and you can see you see some buildings there that are permanent. And what they've done is some vendors just come in and said that, I'm putting this building up. This is where I'm going to sit for years to come. and that's what they do. And you're going to see things like this there. This is a combine. It's maybe the newest, latest, greatest combine of this. I'm going to call it the color because there's red, green, orange. You name it out there. But we're not naming brands. So we'll keep names out of it.
Yeah, they probably now have. It looks like it's got cool lights that lights up the whole front end of it.
Yeah.
But GPS controlled.
They are. These things have GPS on them to where they know when to stop. They know how much yield they're getting. All kinds of things related to this, and a lot of it is in the planting stages of this. I don't think I have a picture of a planter, but they'll take now GPS and things like that on the planter to where when the field is planted, maybe it knows that maybe this little area may need a higher seed rate because earlier you put in how much fertilizer you put down in your program of the
or
GPS.
It's drier, wetter,
drier, wetter, exactly. Picture we got here is some of them in the back. I'm going to call it the back fields.
The back 40.
The back 40, if you would, but it's it's way more than 40.
Yeah.
Behind the exhibitor area, these are the fields they'll harvest as a demonstration, but they'll also take the different vendors. As you can see, there's different color combines out there. There's different color tractors. Excuse me. And you'll also see, it's kind of in the upper right-hand corner, there's tractors with tracks.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah.
you'll see everything out there as a demonstration. And today would be a perfect day because it's wet out there, and you'll see what each one of them may,
the advantages that might
the
hold.
advantages of them. And farmers now are looking at compaction to the ground. And they're also looking at how much ground they run over. And
because it's not always, it's like no-till.
Right. No, you're exactly. A lot of them, they don't do a lot of tilling or zero tilling other than, maybe cutting down some old corn stalks or something like that.
So around here you've got a lot of clay. You don't want to compact that into brick.
You don't. Yes, exactly. That makes it even harder for that corn or beans to grow in the next year. So so you want to try to limit your number of passes over the field is what they're looking for.
And distribute your weight.
Exactly. Yeah. And
looks like there's 2 or 3 people there.
Yes. This is a typical day at Farm Science, and just about every row, every aisle that we've seen on that exhibitor area, in them nine passes. And I believe this is taken in the middle of it.
So it's only looking over half.
Only looking over half, yeah.
So does the, I'm a hungry guy. Do they have good food there?
Oh, they have good food. They have.
Is it more like fair food, or is it something different?
No, I'm going to say it's a little above fair food, but you'll be able to get a hamburger and stuff like that. But it is more geared towards.
I wasn't sure if it was farm fresh stuff or.
Yes, if you would, there's a lot of vendors there that have pork sausage sandwich, or maybe a rib sandwich or something like that. It is more things that you see off the farm rather than a corn dog or a hot dog or something like that.
Right.
That's the type of things that you'll find there as food. But there's a lot of places that just do like popcorn and stuff like that. Something that you can walk as you go. But this is just one picture of students where there's a lot of high schools.
Okay, I was going to say OSU classes or high school?
Well, a lot of high schools take their students up there, maybe if they're in the FFA or something. Right. This is a great event for them to learn a little bit more about farming. But there's also, at the Farm Science Review, they hold classes, if you would, or talks. For instance, Brad Bergerford and Matt Smith and some of these guys at our place at Piketon from South Centers, they went up yesterday and did several talks. Brad, he's a horticulture guy, so he talked a lot about horticulture stuff, and you know, there'll be set times, and there's just usually a little a little stand, if you would, that they're at, and there might be a few chairs or something, but most of the time people stand around and listen, and the talks are usually fairly short, 15, 20, 30 minutes, and then it's time for questions and answers and stuff like that. But this here's probably one of the typical classes that goes there, and you know, of course, they hand out tons of stuff, so everybody's got bags of advertising things, if you would. So, but and then again, here's another picture of the website, and as you see, they're looking at a forest or a fire here, and that's part of the Gwin part, to where maybe they're doing some management of that land. You know, how to, you know, keep from having a fire, or just management in general. To burn, some people burn their ground off,
right,
to have better, you know.
Do you do that for weeds, or are you adding the ash for a reason?
I think it's a way to manage the weeds, if you would, but then it also that'll help put nutrients into the ground. But you know, that's an alternative from spraying, if you would, putting chemicals in the ground.
As long as you can keep it under control, I'm all for it.
Exactly, and that's part of this is
unless that puts out more emissions, and then you have to have a permit.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to pay for it.
That's right.
I don't know. Didn't see a whole lot of Amish there.
You'll be surprised. You'll see some there too.
Because we have a lot of Amish in this area.
Yeah.
Who farm and do different crafts and things.
No, you'll see some there. Everybody will be there. You know, there's people that are not even farmers that go there, but it's just it's a chance to visit your farming community, if you would, and see what they're doing as far as education-wise. Maybe you get some information. Maybe you get some seed for planting flowers or anything like that. They have a variety of stuff.
Now, if I was looking for seeds.
Yeah.
Don't want weeds.
No weeds. We don't plant weeds.
If I was looking for seed, would they have the seed and what the seed looks like? You know, say like, would they have tomatoes that show what that tomato plant yields, or the corn that this seed yields?
Yes, they would. A lot of the seed vendors will be there, and they'll give you what the estimated yields will be of their particular seed, and they all have different types. You know, it might
like
be
sweet
corn, but it might be
or feed corn.
Yeah. They'll have they may have 10 different types of field corn, if you
now
will.
Okay, that brings up something else, because we're getting short on time.
Yep.
Is it for just field crops, or does it go into like cows and animals?
Both. Yes.
Yes.
They cover both.
Okay.
Because
I didn't see any like fields of sheep and cows.
Right. Now they really
that.
don't have animals there.
Okay.
But they have vendors there that you know, take care of the animals, as far as selling gates and buckets and, you know, everything that you would need. You know, maybe a dairy farm, if you would. There'll be
or inoculations or something for them.
Yes, all kinds of stuff like that. But they typically don't have a lot of animals there.
Okay.
Now they may have a few there for kids to pet.
Right.
You know, things like that. But they typically don't have like large herds of cows or things like that there. But they do have vendors that deal in that.
Okay. So it doesn't matter what
dairy or whatever, pigs, you name it, they're there.
Okay. So it doesn't matter what kind of farmer you are.
No. There'll be there's even I've been there in the past, and there's been talks about llamas and goats and all kinds of things. Anything that you can find on a farm, you'll find information there.
Okay.
And there's one little other tent usually, and it's well occupied. It's usually in the front corner. Huge tent, and it's toys, all farm toys.
Oh, okay.
So when you see those little tractors and all that stuff, you can go there, and there's just oodles of this stuff. Combines, tractors, little plows, little discs for
Ones
whatever.
that you ride on.
Well, yeah, the big, the ones where you can ride on, or the little, like what is them, 64th inch
Yeah.
models, and some of them, have never been out of the boxes, and they'll show some really old ones that are worth a lot of money, and things like that. So it's unreal. Absolutely.
Okay, that's all we have time for.
Yeah.
On this
Went quick.
Agri Talk. Yeah, it is. So we'll see you next month on Agri Talk. Thanks for watching.